A bill was recently introduced by the leader of the Arizona State Freedom Caucus to ban any representation honoring Satan from being placed on state public property. The bill passed in committee despite opposition. Now, Senator Juan Mendes defended the Satanic Temple, highlighting their value of compassion and justice, something Christians seem to have in short supply these days. Senator Jake Hoffman argued that Satanism cannot be considered a religion, as Satan is antithetical to religion. The bill passed a committee vote and is set to advance for further consideration on the chamber floor, so stay tuned for more Christo-fascist attempts to rewrite our laws into a theocracy. This story comes from Arizona Capital Times by Hannah Elsmore on February 9th, 2024. And Jonathan, I'm sure you have plenty to say about this topic.
Oh, yeah. Respect, which is the name the acronym they gave for this, stands for Reject Escalating Satanism by Preserving Essential Core Traditions. The bill has a title that shows little respect for anything other than their brand of religion. But I have a mixed review of this, as the senator in Arizona has one argument that almost holds water until you look at it closely. He mentions that this is not a religious liberty issue, as we can't put the 10 Commandments in schools. This just extends it for Satan only, in parentheses, that's my thing, to all government property. Okay. And if you didn't see the problem with that, first, it would not need to be banned, as it falls under the same rules already. It is a religion, according to the IRS. Government buildings cannot display religious displays that support or can be interpreted to mean governmental support of any religion. That includes them. So you can't do this. So this is a nothing bill. This is a media stunt. This is a stunt that he gets to say, see how I'm protecting your morals and your philosophy of life. Well, excuse me, there's one small issue. Satan doesn't exist except in Abrahamic religions. Therefore, why do you hate it? Your religion can't exist without it. It's just like, without that dichotomy, everything you're trying to do kind of falls flat. So, I'm just like an absolute, almost amused if it wasn't so dangerous. I can tell you that, TST will end up in a lawsuit, and it will get overturned if they do pass this. And I have no doubt they will, because this is all a publicity stunt for the GOP, and how they're going to, in an election year, they're going to rile up their base so that they can get more votes. What they don't realize is their base is less than 40% of the population. So if they keep catering to their base, they're going to lose all the independents and all the middle of the road Republicans, and they're going to be left with that 25 to 35%, and that's it. You can't win an election that way. And this comes from somebody who has run elections before. But anyway, that's the first things I have to say. So I'm going to pass this back to Scott and see if he has some more before I get into another rant.
The Respect Act, right? That's what you said. They called it the Respect Act. And when I hear that, I hear Aretha Franklin, right? I won't sing it. Don't worry about that.
Please don't.
Because, of course, we all know Aretha Franklin was a total Satanist back in the day. No, I made that up. I made that up totally. But it makes just as much sense as the real name of the bill, right? Jonathan, you were mentioning reject escalating Satanism. And this part is the cool part, by preserving essential core traditions, like, for example, the First Amendment. Okay, they're tossing that out. That would be an essential core tradition, I think, but they're not preserving it. They're throwing it out. Oddly, as you mentioned, they're also arguing that Satanism is not a religion because Satan is antithetical to religion. So if it's not a religion, then it should be okay, right? If it's not a religion, then that's an argument to allow this kind of thing to happen. But Senator Hoffman, state senator, said that it does not defy the First Amendment because the bill would still allow for freedom of speech and assembly. So he's saying, well, you don't have your freedom of religion, but we still have freedom of speech and assembly. And, I'm thinking, wait, so we can satisfy a law just by satisfying part of it now? Because I know it's been a while since I've coveted my neighbor's ox. So am I covered for the 10 Commandments there? I don't know. It's a silly thing, but I will say this, that the Arizona State Sun Devils are in for an expensive rebranding in their near future. And I have a suggestion for a new mascot for them. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'll pass this on. Infidel, what do you have to add to that?
I think you're exactly right when you talked about, well, if it's not a religion, then great. What's your objection? Moving right along, because that means we need to keep your 10 Commandments out. And let's go ahead and bring Satan in, if that's the case. But the truth is I do disagree, because Satan is very much a religious character. Right, and if you really read your Bible, in the beginning, Satan is an employee of God. He's not some big bad guy who's on top doing all these things. He, in the book of Job, he actually answers to God. He's on God's board meeting. So very much so a religious figure. And I did notice he said Jake Hoffman. I kept calling him Jack because I think I was in my mind thinking jack off, but he said, it is a desecration of public property in Arizona. We have more respect for our public property and for the people who call Arizona home than to have satanic altars and displays on public property. Bravo. Because I have more respect for the people of Arizona, because I am completely fine with not having satanic altars on public property. I'm perfectly fine with not having Christian symbols represented on public property. And because you know what? They've got a place to do that. That's called church. And sure, that's perfect. But what they want is their symbols and their religion pushed to the forefront, while anything that may come against that to be pushed down. But then again, Mr. Hoffman does have some issues with the truth. I do find it ironic that he picked one of the few characters in the Bible who consistently spoke the truth, who was honest. The character was a truthful guy. Now, about Jake Hoffman, though, this is a guy who, in his moral sanctimoniousness, tried to file paperwork as a fake elector. This is a guy who runs a group called Rally Forge, who trolled using fake Democratic accounts during the election for Turning Point Action, which is part of the Turning Point America group. So, he was actually even removed from Facebook after the fact, his group, because they were hiring teenagers in the area to essentially troll as liberal Democrats to turn people off and to try to swing the middle vote. So when it comes down to honesty and what is best, I say this: I have more respect for the people in Arizona who call it home than to them to have to deal with some liar like Jake Hoffman. Now, as we said, the bill did pass. Now, this isn't going anywhere, at least not this time.
It passed committee. Yes, it passed committee.
Yes, it passed committee, but this is going to. I do think this is going to ultimately pass the state legislature. But when it's going to be contested, and it's never going to actually achieve anything that they think it's going to, because once again, as Jonathan said, this is just a plan and a method to whip up the base, to get people all emotional, to think, oh my God, Satan's invading everything. Let chicken little, the sky's falling. Let's go ahead and vote so we don't get Satan everywhere, because, we might get somebody that's Satan on us if we don't do that. But I did notice that the senator who opposed it, said this proposal isn't even a dog whistle. It is straight up an attack on religion. He is literally trying to erase an entire religion. And that's what he's doing, because at the end of the day, it's, as we've said many times, it's not about religious freedom. It's about religious freedom. And there's a little asterisk next to him. And that means for me.
Right,
and
right.
We see this time and again, and this is just another example of this happening once more. So this will go, somebody will end up paying some money because we've seen this before with the Satanic Temple contesting and bringing things to court, and the other side loses consistently because it is a losing issue, because all they're trying to do is shut the people up they don't agree with. And with that, I'm going to shut up. Jonathan?
Promises, infidel. Promises.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't think they're really trying to shut them up. They know what's going to happen. They're just doing this as a political stunt to get their name in the paper. Just spell the name right. Doesn't matter what you say, as long as you get the press. And that's pretty much it. This state senator needs to keep his position on the board of extreme Christians in order to keep his status in the extreme fascist, Christo-fascist world. And he's gone way extreme, to the point where most people, even in his religion, are going, I don't know if I want to be associated with this guy. But, and if you need people to push you out of religion, there you go. You see somebody like this and you're going, you've not read the first couple sentences of the First Amendment, have you? About establishment of religion, that, no, I guess not. Okay, go read it. It's a fun read. Just read the 10 Commandments, no, just read the 10 Amendments, it's just like, I shake my head in the ignorance of people, the ignorance of history, the ignorance of American politics. If you mention de Tocqueville, everybody kind of, the eyes glaze over, and you're sitting there going, okay, I guess I'm not going to talk about that today. Mainly because they just won't listen. As soon as you say anything that doesn't fit with their worldview, their eyes glaze over and their ears close. And that's it. So I don't have anything more to tell these people except for, you're idiots. Wake up, smell the coffee. It's like, they're just not going to go, and so I think that once we get rid of this kind of power seeking and put some rules in place about who can say what in the media, as far as falsehoods, then maybe we'll get someplace. Or, I understand free speech and all that, but lying to people that causes harm is not free speech. So, and so there, I know I said it. I said the silent part out loud, but that's fine. Get over yourselves, people. The Satanic Temple has done a lot of really great work, and you are going to lose. You will lose in court. The Supreme Court will not even hear it, because if they outlaw one religion, it kind of sets a precedent. So, and with the majority of them being Catholics, and, they're probably not going to pass let any laws pass that discriminate against any religion. Because remember, once that starts, you're next. So wake up, smell the coffee, get right with your Constitution, and stop being a dick. And Scott, that's up to you.
Good advice for all of us, I think. But Jonathan, you were saying before that this State Senator Hoffman represents a kind of a minority, and that you said something about how his base is shrinking, so to speak. Don't want to get too personal here, but the fact is the fact is that he was in fact elected, and that he campaigned openly on these principles. And so even if there is a minority of people that are supporting these particular views, I think an argument could be made, and I'll pose this as a question to both of you. Do you think that this is a reasonable argument that he is in fact representing his constituency? Because he campaigned on issues just like this, and so he's basically following through on what he promised, and they elected him to do that. Does that mean that is he doing his job here? Is he representing his constituency? Infidel, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that one thing that people forget and overlook, when we're having a representation in government, sometimes that representation doesn't mean doing what the people who elected you want you to do. Sometimes it boils down to doing things they don't want you to do because it's the wrong thing. So he might be representing the people that voted for him, but he's not representing the self-interest of his state, and he's not representing the Constitution. And Jonathan mentioned earlier about read the Constitution. Yeah, that's a quick read. What I'd really like Christians to do, though, is read your damn Bible, because I don't think there's anything out there that pokes holes in Christianity as we know it better than their own book. So
True.
Go ahead and do that. Read your Bible, read the Constitution. But at the end of the day, it's his responsibility to represent the country, the state, and therein the Constitution as well. And when he strays from that, I think he's lost course. He's way off course of what he should be doing. I don't care if everybody in Arizona thinks that's a great idea. You promised, you took an oath to uphold the laws of this country. And what he is doing is the exact opposite of the laws of this country. So I think he's being the opposite. But, then again, I'm a godless heathen, so what do I know?
Well,
indeed. Let me jump in here, Jonathan. I have a question for you. You were talking before about the Satanic Temple. I mean, we know that they can often be intentionally provocative, right? Their whole goal of the organization is to draw attention to this kind of hypocrisy that we see in this religious bias, and especially when it comes to legislation and that kind of thing. So would you consider this a win for the Satanic Temple? And if so, how can they build on this? Where can they take this?
I think that they won't be a win until they take it to court. But I think that their advocate in the state Senate was fairly eloquent in his defense of the TST, and he brought them into the meeting, and every Republican in the meeting split when they saw the Satanic Temple people in it. So they are scared to death of this, and that's their belief system. And I think that just because he was elected, he took an oath. You take an oath before their God, and wouldn't he be a little pissed if he broke that oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States? I don't know, guys. Any sin is a sin that is going to get you damned. Sorry. He doesn't say what degree of sin. There is no categorization. It is you insulted God. It doesn't matter if all you did was spit in the sidewalk or you murdered somebody. In God's eyes, supposedly they're all equal. So good luck with that religion of yours. I don't see you getting out of it alive, course, we never get out of it alive. I don't see you getting it out of it scot-free. Let's put it that way. And I don't mean you, Scott. So, though they could be scot-free. I don't know. They could be Scott-Dicky-free.
Oh, I'm not free. That's for sure.
Very expensive.
But anyway, my only thing is just like Infidel said, he takes an oath and he has to represent not just the people of his district, though that should be his primary concern. It shouldn't be their morals or their constitution breaking ideas. It should be to make sure their roads are paved and their wetlands are managed and their wildlife is managed and their schools are in good shape and infrastructure. That's what a state senate should be doing. Not this fringe, let's get a soundbite that everybody can get excited about. Just do your job and quit with the let's force everybody to be the way we are. Just do your job. Fix the roads, fix the schools, fix the schools in a way in which you're not pushing your bullshit on them. But otherwise, Scott, I'm done.
Sure. Yeah. You both bring up great points about the Constitution, right? America is a democracy, but that does not mean that we're mob rule, right? It's not just a, might makes right situation. That's why we have a Constitution. Yep. If it was mob rule, then we wouldn't need a Constitution because the mob could always, force their way and muscle their way in. And so, it's really about defending the Constitution. And I think that's a perfect spot for us to end this discussion. Thank you, Jonathan and Infidel, for joining me. I had a great blast talking to both of you tonight. If you don't want the discussion to end, then you can just click on here.